Hello and welcome to the Business of Sustainability, where we talk about corporate social responsibility and environmental sustainability in business. I'm Chuck Otto and this is my beat. My guest today is Samuel Shiroff. He is Vice President of Business and Social Responsibility at Edelman, the world's largest public relations agency, co-headquartered actually in Chicago and New York. Sam, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
It's great to be here this afternoon, John.
And I want to call attention to your wonderful windmill tie.
Yes, wind
that.
turbines.
Wind turbines.
You
Thank you
cannot
for
tilt
correcting.
at a wind turbine.
Got it. Okay. Something to remember. Sam, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you landed at Edelman?
Sure. Well, this area of corporate social responsibility, sustainability, is one that I've really been in my entire career. Primarily, to be honest, out of Europe. So I began my career at Deutsche Bank in their embryonic social responsibility department, focusing on issues related to carbon emissions and climate change, as well as dealing with their overall social platform. We even created a foundation for Deutsche Bank in Africa. Not wanting to be a banker for my entire life, I took the opportunity to work for a nonprofit organization, also in Germany, that was a collaborative of foundations and corporate foundations, all focused on sustainability with a capital S, and trying to understand what this meant, and we're talking about in the 2000s, and how they could work together to foster it in a way that wasn't currently being done. And eventually one of those members, called Bosch Home Appliances, asked me to run their global signature program. And did that for about 6 years. And with a desire to come back to the United States and raise my family here, I found this wonderful opportunity in the business plus social purpose practice at Edelman in Chicago.
That's wonderful. Could you talk a little bit about that practice, just in broad terms?
No, absolutely. So we're a group of approximately 125 corporate social responsibility and sustainability professionals throughout the world, with the largest practices in New York and in Chicago, but also in Hong Kong, in Brazil, in South Africa, in Latin America, in Paris. So we really bring a variety of different perspectives and levels of expertise. We work with companies, with nonprofit organizations, with foundations to help them develop their strategies, and to communicate those strategies, as well as understand the overall perspective and direction in which the topic is going, what risks might be in front, and how they can become leaders or maintain their leadership in whether we're talking about environmental issues or social issues or employee issues. It really runs the gamut.
Mm-hmm. You and I both know from the communications business that an annual report, a website can be made very pretty and interesting. Mm-hmm. But how do you know when you're seeing a company that is really committed to corporate social responsibility?
Well, we have this wonderful buzzword in the consultancy world that we say is authenticity. And it is the parallel or the opposite of greenwashing. And there are certain measures that one can, or markers that one immediately can look at. For instance, if in the context of a corporate social responsibility report, is it according to GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiative, which is a framework that has been developed over many, many years, by which companies are able to report in a manner that is comparable specifically between sectors and also across sectors of their social, environmental, and governance related issues that aren't required necessarily by generally accepted accounting principles or other accounting regimes. That, in other words, what doesn't show up in their 10K, to use an American perspective on that. And this is a pretty good first step. But above and beyond that, there's also the expectation, I would say, for an ability to recognize when they're not meeting all of their goals. And to talk about real challenges, because perfection is something that I think that is hard to achieve for human beings on a consistent basis. And since companies are human beings at the end of the day, when you see a company always meeting or exceeding its goals, when you see no errors being made, no challenges that aren't overcome, there's a good chance that there's something behind that is not either completely authentic or completely transparent. So, we often talk, so look, be open, be honest, recognize that that if you're not challenging yourself, people will be aware of it. And at the end of the day, if you aren't authentic, it will definitely come across.
Wow, nicely put. If you don't mind, I'd like to delve into one particular client just a little bit, at least for a top line. Earlier in 2014, CVS pharmacies indicated that they were pulling all the tobacco from their shelves. And I know that Edelman was involved in some ways in helping to communicate, kind of formulate that message. And I'm wondering if you could kind of give us Edelman's thinking and a little bit of insight into how CVS wanted to approach this.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, the amount of press that was generated with this decision, I think was impressive. I mean, it was something that maybe not surprising in retrospect, but there's always the question, what will the reaction to this be when a company intentionally decides to stop selling a product that generates $2 billion in revenue? And I think that this can be done with the perspective of understanding the direction in which brands in general are going. We have a circumstance in which consumers, and if you look at Edelman's Trust Barometer survey or our recently released brand share survey, you'll see that consumers increasingly expect companies to have some level of purpose connected to what it is that they're doing in their brand. And CVS saw the opportunity, some white space, where they wanted to be more healthy, the healthy store, the healthy drugstore, the health provider that would differentiate them from their competitors. And what you find is that those organizations, those brands that have the highest value have often been born with purpose. I think those quickly come to mind. We're talking about a Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia, a Whole Foods, a Chipotle. And older brands, or brands that have been around for a while, that have values associated with them, sometimes struggle for this. And one of the things that CVS was able to do in a very big way that was, by the way, recognized not just in this country, it received press around the world because it was such a huge move, was to brand themselves, or to rebrand themselves as a company that has purpose, that has meaning, and that is willing to do the right thing even when it means a loss of some level of revenue. On the other hand, I think they've done pretty well from it. So, I mean, it shows that it's not just about doing the right thing, but you can do well and do good.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So we think about the CVSs and the Patagonias, some of the bigger guys. When we're talking about smaller business, how can they think about authenticity and their CSR efforts? What can they do at any level?
It's interesting. Well, first of all, smaller businesses are usually family owned, and one thing we do know is that fundamentally, people tend to trust family-owned companies more. I mean, this is especially true in the United States and even around the world, generally speaking. And the question is why? Well, they often have a fundamental purpose in their hearts to begin with, which is they providing a good or a service to the community. They're hiring people who are their friends and their neighbors. And so, I don't think that anyone who I've ever spoken to who has started or runs or has continued to run from a family perspective, a small or medium-sized business, they embody the meaning of purpose. Simply in how they see what their business and their role is. They often give to charities in a great deal. They make those Little League teams run. And so for me, it's not a matter of taking another step and saying we should do public relations about how wonderful we are as a company. It's a matter of nevertheless recognizing that they don't have to go out of their way to do it, and they should continue to doing what it is that they're doing, and as they grow their businesses, to not lose that fundamental understanding that they're a part of the community and that a community thrives and they thrive together, and there's not really a separation between the two.
Wow, that's wonderful. One last quick question. What's trending? I mean, when we look at the gamut of social responsibility, from human rights to water issues to what, is there anything that you think is going to emerge in the next year that will become kind of a hot spot or something that is going to draw a lot of attention?
Well, there are quite a few things, and there's lots of different ways to answer that. But I think that what you'll see from a sustainability perspective is the energy food nexus, and to take it a step further, energy food water nexus. Our civilization is built on agriculture, and agriculture is a fundamental inputs of energy and water, and it is energy for ourselves. We waste 40% of the food that we grow in this country, and there's a huge amount to be done there. From a more social perspective, I think it's a matter of finding the ways to help individuals maximize their ability to think, ultimately. I mean, that sounds a little bit silly, but more and more of us are knowledge workers, and getting away from the dissonance and being able to focus on what it is that we can do, and that's not a matter, that can't be measured in how much it is that you're producing on a daily basis, because sometimes the big idea takes a lot of hours. And companies are increasingly focused on creating situations where their employees are healthier and happier. And the healthiness and happiness directly leads to greater productivity. And I think you'll see those parallel issues moving forward as people try to determine, so where's the risk and where's the opportunity?
Wonderful. How can folks track you down or find out more about Edelman's social responsibility efforts?
Yeah, if anybody is interested in learning more, you're welcome to send me an email, which is samuel.shiroff@edelman.com.
Wonderful. Sam, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. I'm Chuck Otto.